Welcome to the Weekly MindSweep number 236, Manage Your Mind, Tending. The space between forest and furrow. The neuroscience of why big ideas feel impossible to start. The idea arrives in your brain complete. You can see the whole retreat, the room full of people, the coffee, the light through the windows. It's so vividly real that you could literally walk into it. And then you open the shiny new notebook to begin the execution of your fully thought out idea. And the page is blank. And so are you. There's the vision glowing in your mind, and there lies an empty page. And between them, where the first step should be, nothing at all. If you are an ADHD or neurodivergent creative entrepreneur, you know this exact silence, and you may have spent years apologizing for it, internally calling it laziness, shame pile projects, or lack of follow through and proof that you are just not cut out for this. And it is none of those things. It is neuroscience. This week in Manage Your Mind Week, I want to walk you through what's actually happening inside our brains because once you can see the mechanism, you can stop blaming the gardener. Let's go find the missing middle. Your brain is built to see the harvest, not the rows. Start with the vision itself because it's vividly real. And it's a strength you possess as a creative human. The ability to picture a future event is called prospection. Research on ADHD shows that we often struggle to create and hold detailed mental representations of future tasks. We can see the destination with stunning clarity, but the mind has trouble building and keeping the sequence of steps that lead us there. Clinicians describe ADHD planning horizon that runs shorter than average, and many people with ADHD experience time in two settings only, now and not now. The finished retreat lives in not now, fully imagined but emotionally distant. The boring middle steps live in a fog the brain can barely reach. So your imagination hands you the harvest in high definition. It just forgets to include the rows of dirt you have to hoe to get there. That's not a flaw in your dreaming. It's a gap between your vision and your sequencing, and that gap has a name. The missing middle is an executive function challenge. The skill that turns big idea into step one, step two, step three is called sequencing, and it lives in your brain's executive function system run largely by the prefrontal cortex, the part researchers sometimes call the brain's air traffic control. For ADHD brains, this is the precise system under strain. Research shows executive function challenges are found in a large majority of people with ADHD, and sequencing, holding a logical order of steps in mind while carrying it out, sits close to the core of the condition rather than off to the side. Read that again. The difficulty breaking a big idea into small steps is not a motivation problem or a discipline problem. It's the exact cognitive skill that ADHD makes harder, operating on the exact kind of task, a big, undefined creative project that demands the most of it. This is why just break it into smaller steps is such maddening advice. Telling an ADHD brain to just break it down is like telling someone who's lost, just know where you are. The not knowing is the entire condition. But when we do reach the steps, they're boring, which for our brains is a real barrier. Now, suppose you push through and you do get the idea broken down. You've got your list. Step one, create a landing page. Step two, draft the outline. Step three, email the venue. And your whole body goes, ugh. Here's the part that neurotypical productivity advice completely misses. Dr. William Dodson, widely cited clinical framework, describes ADHD brains as running on interest-based nervous system rather than an important-based one. Most people can summon motivation because a task is important. Our brains largely can't run on importance alone. They run on interest, novelty, challenge, and urgency. The vision, the finished retreat, is bursting with all four. It's novel, it's fascinating, it's a challenge, it's your passion. But the individual steps, creating a landing page, is not novel. Drafting an outline is not urgent. The middle steps are, almost by definition, the least stimulating part of the whole endeavor. So the brain that lit up like a carnival at the idea goes dark at the to-do list. And it's not because you don't care, because the steps genuinely don't give your nervous system the fuel it needs to move, and this matters isn't enough fuel on its own. Stack these three together, and you have the entire ADHD entrepreneur's dilemma in one sentence. We see a glorious end we can't sequence, and when we finally sequence it, the steps don't give us the fuel to start. No wonder we struggle. It's not one gap, it's three stacked. Why a second brain can change the whole equation. Every one of these gaps is a gap another brain can fill, not because you're incapable, but because research on how our brains work points almost embarrassingly directly at other people as the fix. Think about what a second person actually does when you sit down together with your big, messy idea. They hold the sequence, you can't. Your prefrontal cortex is straining to keep 12 steps in order. Theirs isn't, because it isn't drowning in your idea. They have the working memory to spare that yours, right now, on this project, does not. You don't have to grow a better executive functioning. You can borrow one. This support makes not now into now. A session on the calendar with a real human is an alarm your time-blind brain will actually hear. The someday retreat becomes a concrete Tuesday appointment at 10 a.m., and suddenly it exists in the only tense your brain acts in, the present. And they make the boring steps stimulating. This is the quiet magic of body doubling, the simple practice of doing a task in the presence of another person. It's one of the most widely used tools in the ADHD toolkit because another body in the room supplies exactly what the dull middle step is missing. A little novelty, a little challenge, a little accountability, a reason for your interest-based nervous system to switch on. The outline that feels like wet cement once gets written in 20 minutes when someone else is there. It's the same task with the same brain, but different conditions. None of this is a crutch. It's the opposite. It's doing precisely what the neuroscience recommends. When the internal system is strained, externalize it. Borrow the prefrontal cortex. Add the body to the room. Turn importance into interest by making the work shared. The most capable entrepreneurs I know aren't the ones white-knuckling their big ideas alone at midnight. They're the ones who stopped trying to be the only brain in the room and reached for support. Here's one thing you can try this week. So last week in Curated Conversation, one of our members shared that she'd been stuck on her big idea. And when we dug into why, it came out. In her mind, the only thing that counted as progress was the very last step. Clicking buy on the unfinished thing until that happened, nothing she did felt real. But the moment she said it out loud, I could see them, all of them, a dozen quiet, tendable steps that live before anyone ever clicks buy. Steps that she could start today. Steps that had been invisible to her and were suddenly obviously there. She looked at me and told me with love exactly where I could go, and I've never felt so honored. Because that's the sound of the missing middle becoming visible. That's a brain that only saw the harvest, suddenly seeing the rose. It stings a little, that moment of awareness, right before it sets you free. So here's your step. You don't need permission or even a session to take it. Take your big idea and instead of planning it, say it out loud to one person. Share the vision. Then ask one honest sentence. I don't know where to start. Let another brain hear it. Notice what they ask. Notice how the steps you couldn't see start to appear, not within your willpower, but within their awareness. That's tending, not forcing the harvest, just letting one more person help you find the first row and the second and all the ones that come along before anyone clicks buy. My questions for you this week. If you had to name the single boring step standing between you and your idea, the one that makes your whole body go, ugh, what is it? And whose garden are you tending beautifully right now while your own grows wild? What would it take to give yourself even 1 hour of what you've given them? You belong here, I can help. Being the second brain for creative heart-centered entrepreneurs is the work I love the most. When we sit down together for our MindSweep mapping session, we do the exact part that your brain finds hardest. We get the whole glorious, overwhelming idea out of your head and onto the map. We find the rose hiding between you and the harvest and land on a first step small enough that your nervous system says yes instead of ugh. You leave with a path that you can actually see, and then I can support you with your next steps. You can learn more about MindSweep mapping at chickbookcreative.com, or if you're not sure where to start or where your first step is, book a free 30-minute consultation. I also want to tell you about curated conversation because you do not have to do this alone. Every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Curated Conversation Evolution is a room full of creative entrepreneurial brains that get it, and a little built-in body doubling to go with them. It's where I don't know where to start gets said out loud and where the missing middle starts to become visible together. July is our month on tending. Your first month is free. Come find out what it feels like to be in a room where it's safe to say the thing out loud. Listen if you want, speak if you're ready, stay if it feels like home. We meet Mondays mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We start with coffee, and belonging is included. You can learn more about curated conversation, MindSweep mapping, or book a free consultation at chickbookcreative.com.